This episode begins with Scootaloo doing her thing, pulling off a few tricks on her scooter, when a sudden compliment from Rainbow Dash sends her screaming into full-on fangirl mode, and she starts imagining her and Dash's future together right up to exchanging their wedding vows. Thankfully, her friends are there to knock some sense into her, though Apple Bloom suggests that if she really wants to spend time with Rainbow Dash, she could probably arrange to have them all go together on a camping trip that she had planned with her sister Applejack. Not wanting to be left out, Sweetie Belle invites herself to go too, along with her sister Rarity, and yet again, Sweetie Belle wins for the most adorably manipulative moment on the show, though we'll see if Rarity has the last laugh later. Everything starts off well enough, with Scootaloo awkwardly trying to look cool in front of Rainbow Dash, but that all changes when Rainbow starts telling ghost stories around the campfire. All the girls get scared, but while Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle are able to laugh it off with their sisters, Scootaloo has no one to turn to, and she starts having nightmares, like a Sweetie Belle song where Claire Corlett does her own singing. "Oh please, you have Michelle Creeber right there, she's right there, she's probably in the studio with you, she'll do the singing, oh god, what's the show coming to?" During one of these nightmares, she runs into Princess Luna, who's apparently there for real, as she has the ability to go into others' dreams. Whoa, wait a minute, so that dream that I had last night? Oh no, there was vanilla frosting everywhere. Sorry. Although this does make me wonder a bit about the pilot episode. If you'll recall, one of the main reasons she became Nightmare Moon was because everyone slept at night. But if she could talk to ponies in their dreams, then why was that an issue? Though for all I know, that could be part of the problem. I imagine you'd be bitter too if you could see what everyone thought about while they were unconscious. Yeah, you think the headless horse is scary, you don't even want to know what I've seen. In any case, while Luna dispels the immediate fear of the imaginary monster from the story, she warns Scootaloo that her true fear will still be there when she wakes up, which Scootaloo admits has to do with Rainbow Dash. And for what it's worth, I really like Luna's message here, that everyone has fear and everyone faces that fear in their own way, but it must be faced or it will only continue. It's a relevant message that acknowledges a problem that, while common, is still unique to each individual that experiences it. And I can think of at least one other episode that would have benefited from this approach. I'm just saying. And I also think this shows a dramatic change from Luna Eclipsed. Nightmare Night depicted Luna as the living embodiment of everyone's fears, but here she actually shows up in someone's nightmare as a symbol of safety, comfort, and reason. As Scootaloo jumps out of her sleeping bag, she gets startled one more time and runs off. Only this time, she falls into the river and even goes over a waterfall. But thankfully, Rainbow Dash catches her in time and rightfully yells at her for running off in the middle of the night and almost getting herself killed. She gives Scootaloo one last chance to tell her what's going on, and it's here that I'm reminded of the episode Griffin the Brush Off. In that episode, we saw Gilda, who was also concerned with only looking cool in front of Rainbow Dash, to the point that she let it damage their relationship instead of just admitting when something was bothering her. All this time, Scootaloo's been doing the same thing, only now, with a bit of a nudge from Luna, she comes clean, saying that she got scared and didn't want Rainbow to think any less of her, and that she was also hoping for Rainbow to be something of a big sister to her. Okay, I know I said I wouldn't talk about Lauren Faust's ideas in Season 3, but I do think it's relevant here. When being questioned about whether Scootaloo and Rainbow Dash were related, Lauren said that Rainbow just didn't have the right attitude to be anyone's big sister in the My Little Pony universe. But here we see that the reason for that might just be that Rainbow hadn't really thought about it before, but when she's given the opportunity, she actually takes to it quite naturally. It's also worth mentioning in regard to Applejack's parents, Lauren also said that in her own imagination she figures that they probably died, but admitted that the show would never openly explore something like that. The subject is just too dark for a kid's show, and it would most likely just go unspoken in the background. And sadly, this episode gives us the most evidence that something similar might have happened with Scootaloo. We've seen in past episodes that some Pegasi don't always take to flying all that naturally, and while it's also been rumored that Scootaloo was designed as a handicapped character, never being able to fly, it's also possible that she's never had anyone around to teach her before. Now for some bad news. Thanks to some truly hokey dialogue, a lot of this episode ends up feeling very average because everything is telegraphed so plainly, even by this show's standards, that you can tell where it's going long before it ever gets there. And where does she get all these scooters from that she keeps losing? It's also disappointing that we still don't get a look at Scootaloo's life outside of the Cutie Mark Crusaders, though like I said, depending on what her situation is, it might be something that the show just isn't allowed to talk about. But please do not confuse this for wasted potential. Wasted potential is when you introduce a villain with godlike powers and an epic backstory and then don't do anything with them. This episode does exactly what it's supposed to do, it's just limited by its own setup. But what we get here is definitely elevated by the developing relationship between Scootaloo and Rainbow Dash, which ends the episode on a perfect note. It also covers what I consider to be a glaring oversight from a Season 1 fun episode, and I didn't even mention the callbacks to other episodes like Sonic Rainboom and Look Before You Sleep. And finally, there are the dream sequences, which are very creative, and Luna is absolutely fantastic here. For that reason, Sleepless in Ponyville gets a 7 out of 10.